The woman behind the glass didn't flinch when she saw my chains. Not when the guards bolted them to the floor. Not when I flexed my wrists and metal screamed. Not even when the air itself shuddered around me, like the room was holding its breath. She just opened her notebook and asked, calmly, "Why did you do it, Harper?" I shrugged. The chains rattled. Somewhere far away, an alarm whined, then died. I said, "Did you know that you can rip a doll apart and put her back together again?" Her pen paused. "But she won't be the same, because she's all broken." "I'm not following," she said. That's when I told her the truth. We were 12. Every morning started with a sharp prick in the neck. You'd wake up to white light, too bright, too clean, burning your eyes before your brain even caught up. The needle always came second, cold, precise, no warning, just pressure, then numbness spreading through your chest like ice water. They called it medication. We called it the forgetting juice. White rooms, no windows, no edges. The walls curved just enough to make you feel like the room was swallowing you, like you were inside the belly of something that had already decided you weren't getting out. No parents, no last names, just numbers on wristbands and voices over intercoms telling us when to eat, when to sleep, when to sit still and be quiet. When I started hearing voices, they didn't panic, they smiled. Idiopathic schizophrenia, they wrote in my file. But the voices weren't random, they were organized. They arrived in layers, first thoughts that weren't mine, then images, then memories, sharp, intimate things I shouldn't have known. A man cheating on his wife, a nurse wishing a patient would just die already, a scientist dreaming about cutting me open to see how I worked. They got louder when I cried. They got clearer when I begged them to stop. Rafe started getting headaches around the same time. He'd clutch his skull, rocking back and forth on his cot, teeth clenched so hard I thought they'd shatter. Then one day, a tray lifted off the table during lunch, just floated. Everyone froze, even the guards. Gravity let go. Evie stopped speaking, not gradually, all at once. She opened her mouth during testing, and nothing came out. Her eyes went wide like she'd felt something crawl down her throat and take residence. After that, when she looked at people, they listened, really listened. Too much. PTSD, the adults claimed, trauma response, overactive imagination, adolescence, puberty, blah, blah, blah. They told us this while strapping us to chairs, while measuring our brain waves, while injecting us with things that burned going in and left us shaking for hours afterward. "We're the adults," they said, "and you're the children." Then Rafe launched a Range Rover across a parking lot. It wasn't even intentional. He screamed, and the air screamed back. The car lifted, twisted, and smashed into concrete like it was made of tinfoil. Evie panicked when the guards rushed in. She didn't shout, she didn't move, she just looked at one of them, and the guard raised his gun and pulled the trigger. Blood sprayed across my face, hot, wet, metallic. It dripped down my chin, soaked into my collar. I remember the smell most of all, iron and something sweet. We screamed, we cried. Rafe tried to run. Evie tried to claw her own eyes out. We were 12. Later, they told us we didn't really see brain matter flying out of his skull. Stress hallucination, group delusion. Rafe's mother came on Visitor's Day. She brought flowers. She wore perfume so strong it made my eyes water. She hugged Rafe like she could squeeze the broken parts of him back into place. She asked questions, too many. By then, Rafe was mute. He didn't respond, didn't blink, just stared at the wall like he was listening to something no one else could hear. One minute she was screaming at the doctors, the next, her head snapped clean off her neck. No dramatic explosion, just a wet crack and a sharp, pale stump of bone where her face had been. We were fucking 12. They dragged Rafe away screaming. That was the last time I saw him for 6 years. Time stopped making sense after that. They isolated us further. Heavier drugs, longer restraints, less light. I learned how to drown out the voices by counting my breaths, by digging my nails into my palms until I felt something real, by imagining myself somewhere else, anywhere else. Then one day, I woke up and I was 23. They pulled me from my room without explanation. I didn't know the date, didn't know the year. My hair fell past my shoulders in matted tangles. My hands were bloody. Later, I realized I'd been trying to claw my own throat open in my sleep. They told me I was being reassigned, serving my country. I led our first case. They shaved Evie's head, removed her tongue. Too dangerous, they said. Her voice lived entirely in her mind now. When she looked at you, you felt pressure behind your eyes, like something was pushing outward. Rafe stood in the corner, chained, one eye gone, scars layered over scars, a muzzle strapped tight around his jaw. When I whispered his name, he snarled. "Go fuck yourself," he said. Tracking down a drug dealer was easy. His thoughts smelled like sour milk, rotting, curdled. He reeked of fear and entitlement. Evie cornered him in an alley. Rafe flung him into a van without touching him. He didn't look at me, didn't look at the man, didn't look at himself. We became a team, a special unit. They sent us after people they wanted erased quietly. Criminals, dissidents, anyone inconvenient. They watched us through cameras, through glass, always behind glass. They took my bone marrow while I was awake, called it necessary. They turned Rafe into a weapon and called it containment. They mutilated Evie and called it safety. They smiled while doing it. Back in the interrogation room, the woman sighed. "I don't want your life story, kid." I smiled. "I know." "So why did you do it? Why did I combust every brain in the facility? Why did I unlock Rafe's cage? Why did we laugh, cry, gorge on pizza and soda, scream and make out like teenagers who just escaped a nightmare? Why did Rafe split a continent in half when they tried to stop us?" I leaned forward until the chains went taut and said, "Because we're kids," laughing softly. "And kids don't know any different." The lights flickered. The glass behind her cracked. Somewhere deep underground, something screamed. If this story sent chills down your spine, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, was this justice or something far worse? And subscribe, because some experiments never really end.